try, for example, to watch a movie without subtitles, watch a talk show, or listen to a podcast, or simply interacting with natives, or trying to overhear, for example, a chat, you feel like your brain just can't keep up? I get it, because actually this is a pretty common problem among the students who start working with me. Whether you have attended courses or not, the way people improve their listening is a bit ineffective. I mean, somehow it gets to work, but we can do better.
For sure.
At a fraction of the time and energy that it takes.
For sure.
Let me show you. The typical way schools help you improve your listening is usually through comprehension questions. You listen to a snippet of a video, and then the actual listening exercise is answering questions like, what did Sarah do over the weekend? Things like that. Maybe you're scoring well on those exercises, but the problem is that these kind of exercises are not really training you for a full-fledged conversation in the streets. Why? These exercises test your listening, but they test the situation in which your listening skill is at the moment, but it doesn't really help you improve it. Your listening skills are partially about understanding the meaning of words, or understanding the whole meaning of a conversation, but actually they are even more about your ear being able to recognize the right sounds. Probably when you started learning your first foreign language, you heard, for example, if I think about English as an Italian, I want to say, how do you do that? Probably it sounded something like that. Your brain, of course, needs to learn where one word ends and another one begins. It needs to learn how sounds connect, how they reduce, how the rhythm works. And you can't train that by answering multiple choice questions. I always say that learning a language is actually a very dumb exercise, because what you need is repetition. Repetition, repetition, repetition. So lots and lots of repetition. And so here is what I want you to do instead. A few days ago, I went to a conference here in Brussels, and I took certain snippets of the conference because I thought maybe they can be interesting for some of my students.
Prize in economics, the only psychologist who got a Nobel Prize.
He was talking about the peak and rule. And this was particularly interesting because I have just spoken about the peak and rule with another student of mine, because we are working with the same technique on a talk show, the interview between Jimmy Fallon and Stephen Bartlett. If I play the snippet that he took, there is actually a lot of background noise, for example, people moving, a little bit of echo. This is actually quite natural English. This is how people actually speak at conferences and meetings or in real life. I took this 3-minute clip, I converted it into an MP3. I also enhanced the quality of the file, but my student has access to both, so both a cleaned up version and the one with the original noise. And I removed certain words, and these words, they are chosen thinking about the level of the student.
Prize in economics, the only psychologist who got a Nobel Prize. And the research shows consistently that the way we sort of remember experiences and the way we make overall judgment about whether something was positive, happy, right? To think about a trip, a vacation, an experience you had, is profoundly determined by only two things: the peak of that experience, like the best moment during that vacation, the best day, and the last day, the end of the experience. And so if you think about maximizing your happiness, what do you want to spend the end on, right?
If I think that some parts are quite easy to understand, I will probably remove more words. But if there are certain terms that I'm pretty sure he doesn't know, I'm not going to remove them. It can be actually a mix between listening, training, and learning some new vocabulary. When you get this transcription, your job isn't to answer questions about this. Your job is to listen again and again and again until you can hear what goes in those blanks. It's very different from what you get at school. And the magic part for me is that you can replay it as many times as you need. You can do it 5 times, 9 times, I don't care. Because the problem is that I'm not testing, I'm helping you train and make your ear more sensible. Every time you replay it, your brain is working. You might be thinking, okay, this is a bit frustrating because you're just going to listen to the same things over and over again. It may actually sound like that at first, but the problem is that it's actually the same mechanism, it's just more deliberate and focused, that help us learn a language when we learn a song by heart. Because when we learn a song, we are actually training our ear to recognize the words in the music. This is why listening to songs is so effective to improve your listening skills in general, because you're going to end up listening to them so many times just because you like it and you get addicted to that. I mean, with a different kind of vocabulary and with different topics. I always focus on what you need and what you like. That's basically the same mechanism. There is no shortcut. You have to show up as usual. You have to put in the reps. You have to do the work. It's always the same thing. We need to repeat a lot of times, but nobody does it on his own. That's why a teacher can help in this kind of situations. The exercise that I did, first of all, it's on me to do that. I pick stuff that can be interesting for you. If you don't like it, if you say, I don't care about this kind of vocabulary and so on, you just can tell me. I'm here to make something useful for you and to help you learn more, better, and faster than you would do alone. When I work with my students, we don't only deal with voice messages, for example, or corrections. I prepare exactly targeted exercises like that. I want to do things that are extremely personalized. So that's why this is something I offer in my WhatsApp program. If there is vocabulary that I'm sure you don't know, I add some notes, or I can even prepare, as you can see on the screen, some additional vocabulary building before the listening exercise. And then, of course, I encourage you to keep listening to the original version over and over again. For example, we do an exercise over the week and I say, okay, now Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, please listen to the original version and try to follow along, follow the words and try to recognize what you remember from the exercise. I have a very visual memory, and so I don't remember the sound of a word, but I remember, first of all, its shape in a written form, and that's why transcriptions are so effective for me. If your problem is purely listening, we can work on that 100% in my WhatsApp program, because we don't really need to be online together in order to do an exercise like that. You need to take your time and not be stressed by, for example, my presence online. You have to just do it as many times as you need, because this means that your ear just needs a little bit more training. They are thought in a way that really force you to listen over and over again, because I know that otherwise you wouldn't do that if you didn't have something to prompt you. But this works. This is not part of my journaling program because, of course, it's a whole different level of service, but it's part of my WhatsApp program. And if you want to know more about it, you can check the link in the description. If you don't feel ready to join my WhatsApp program, you can still maybe consider the journaling program. And here is how you can make it effective, even working completely on your own.